Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Clyde Sharadi from Africa Mid Australia, and tonight we're starting a new segment in collaboration with AfroShine Professionals, where we talk about professional stories. So we call it "My Career, My Story," and I have with me as the first guest of this new segment, Mr. Peter Kiongo. Peter, how are you today?
I'm quite okay. Cried, how are you doing?
Good, good. How are you going with all this confinement thing? The corona situation that we're all facing.
Cried, it's a difficult time, and just like everyone else, I'm trying to do the best I can. But yeah, it's a new way of doing things. We have to get used to it. Still trying to keep safe, staying, or sort of minimizing the movement. So yeah, I'm coping okay, I would say.
That's good. So, introduce yourself to our audience a little bit so they know who you are. Maybe give us a bit of a background information. So, before we go into a bit more details about your career.
Oh, thanks, Cried. Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Kiongo. I'm originally from Kenya. Maybe on the professional side, I'm an accountant and I hold a bachelor's degree in commerce, majoring in accounting. I'm also a certified public accountant of Australia. Yeah, I've been in the accounting field for more than 25 years, I would say. Yeah, and currently I'm doing my own business. I'm a tax agent and a mortgage broker. So, in a nutshell, that's a very summary introduction of myself, Clyde.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Tell us a bit. When did you arrive in Australia, and what were your first impressions of Australia?
I arrived in Australia way back in 2002. That's in November. So times move fast. I've been here now. We are saying 18 years. Actually, I just clocked 18 years. And my first impression, it wasn't, let me say, you're coming from Africa. The first time I've ever been out of Kenya, and I came to Australia, new culture, and what you find or what you expect is totally different. So
Mm.
I would say with a young family, it wasn't that easy. It wasn't that easy, but I'm still here and we are doing okay.
Well, you're still here, and you're doing okay.
Yeah.
Um, can you? Obviously, we're trying to talk more about your career and your story, your personal story in the Australian context. Tell us a
Yeah.
bit about how you went ahead and start. I mean, how did you get your first job? How easy or difficult it was for you to get a job? Did you get a job even before you came into Australia, or did it take you time to actually get a job as an accountant?
Cried, I didn't get a job before I came to Australia. The only thing about I knew about Australia is what we were studying, maybe geography in school and whatever research I did on the internet. Once I applied as a professional, so I came here, I packed my family, came over here. And my timing of coming here, as per what my agent told me, was not, yeah, I didn't come at a very good time. As I've said, I arrived here in November. November, it so happened, now that's sort of like the beginning of the holiday, like in December holidays. So
Mm-hmm.
it's usually very quiet. And it took me about 3 months to get a job. And 3 months, once you have a family and you are paying the bills, you have the rent to pay, 3 months. And as you can imagine, the currency now, you're talking about Australian dollar. Once you convert whatever you had, all your savings to Australian dollars, you find you don't have much. So yeah, it was difficult, but I got my first job as an accounts receivable actually through a recruitment company, which is called Hamilton James and Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, my first role I got in March.
Okay, and was it? So it took about 3 months. Did you make a lot of applications eventually before you landed a job, or give us
Ye-
a bit more details how that whole experience went?
Yes, I did. I did. And okay, the issue was first of all my expectation because coming from Kenya, I was a senior man. I was
Mm-hmm.
a financial controller for about 10 years, let's say specifically 6 years. And I had other roles back in Kenya. Now, coming here, I knew, of course, it was going to be a bit difficult, or let me say a bit difficult. I was not expecting to be a financial controller. I was not expecting to be a finance manager. But then what happened is I came here with this very strong resume. Now, I
Mm.
went to see a couple of agents. None of them could tell me what the issue is. One of the biggest thing which they kept on asking was the local experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, accounting is accounting, just like any other, well, if you have an experience, something. So the issue of local experience, that was a big barrier because you've just arrived here, then they're asking you for a local experience. Now, so I was looking for a senior management or senior accounting role or maybe mid-management level. And it's not until I met one of the lady who was a recruitment agent and she told me, Peter, let me tell you what, your resume is quite heavy. Not that I doubt, but then because you don't have local experience, and then I'll tell you one thing, we are not used to many Africans. By that
Mm.
time, we were very few. We were really, really few. But that lady was very, very frank. So what she told me is, I'll do a resume for you. I'll remove all these titles for you. All right. And then we concentrate on what you can be able to do. And now
Mm.
that's a resume that I used and I went to Hamilton James. And that's the way I got my first role as an account receivable.
Absolutely, and I think that's actually a very common experience. People who come from Africa and many other places anyway, but talking about the African experience, people have to sort of redo their resume to try to just stick to whatever thing that they are targeting in order for them to get the job, because some people actually have to spend a whole lot of time. They have to make applications for, 10, 20 times before they get the job. But having maybe one or two resumes that target particular positions that you have usually helps. And then, all right, let's go now further from there. You get a job. How was your first experience with the Australian workplace compared to Kenya?
Oh, my first role, it wasn't a very good experience. Actually, it was a very bad experience. I would say, cried. And
Okay.
okay, first of all, I had my own issues. Let's start from there. Here
Mm.
you are, you came as a senior man, you're expecting maybe to start not necessarily, as a senior person, but then maybe there in the middle. And then
Mhm.
going there and then you are starting as an account receivable. To me, why I say I had some issues is that that's something I did not even do in Kenya because I came straight from the university. Once you get a job, you sort of start from the middle. Now, I
Mm.
was looking for a role as an accountant. So as an account receivable, not there's anything, but then it's just the impression that I had. And so what happened is, after staying for 3 months, I was ready to do whichever job I got, and I was happy to get that role. But the biggest issue I had was the volume. So there was a lot of work, and I was
Mm.
the only person who was doing the account receivable. Then I had to take to do the banking. Now, my main issue was because I found that at times, actually, I would spend the whole day without going to the bathroom. So at one time,
Wow.
one day, I spent the whole day. I went to the bathroom when I went back home in the evening. So that's the kind of pressure I was. I was putting myself under a lot of pressure because I need to keep this job. I need
Mm.
to put food on the table. And what annoyed me most was that I was finding when I'm struggling all this, now you have all these other colleagues who are in the finance department, all they seem to be doing is just chatting. All
Mm.
right. They chat, and it came to a point whereby here you are struggling with work. Your manager is not helping you. Of course, I was also, I didn't really speak up. I didn't say, oh, hey, my manager, I'm struggling here. I didn't speak up. So
Mm.
sometimes I find even these guys, someone is just chatting there, and then they would come and they would want someone to do the photocopy. So they would give me to do the photocopy. So
Mm.
here you are, guys. Hang on. You are just chatting there, and then you tell me to go and do the photocopy. So I did that for maybe a couple of days, but then finally I had to start pushing back. And because I hated the job, I was feeling bad. I felt discriminated. So my attitude was not good. And I didn't stay long in that role. Actually, I was sacked within 2 months because of my attitude. So at one time I
Okay.
had to with some of the colleagues, and I lost my job within 2 months.
All right. Now, looking back now, when you see yourself in that position, was it because, I mean, you were sacked from that job because of your attitude, you said, but was that because of the way that they I suppose subjected you to a lot of stress, and you were not properly equipped in that context as a newbie to sort of navigate your way around and negotiate with the managers and see how they can potentially make things easier for you?
Yeah, okay. One of the feedback now that my manager gave was that, okay, she was very much okay with my work. I was a good worker and I could handle, incredible volumes. Actually, that was her feedback. So, but then she said, I have a bad attitude. Right. So issue is now, I sort of am that person who would expect, I'm sitting there and saying, okay, guys, you can't be serious. You should see what I'm going through. As adults, you should see, and then I don't have to tell you what I'm going through. That's the mistake I did. I did not speak up. So, and somehow, anyway, some of the guys also took advantage. As I'm saying, they see that I'm very busy, but then they come and they want me to do the photocopying, and I'm wondering, hang on, why can't you do it yourself?
Yes.
But then once it came to pushing back, the way I pushed back, I wouldn't say it was the best. So yeah, much as yeah, I wouldn't want to say, oh yeah, blame yourself. But then yeah, I had a big role also to play in that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that is also quite common when people get upset. Even myself, I relate to that sort of experience when I was new in Australia. I was unimpressed in the job I was doing, but the way I communicated to the boss, or the way I behaved in response to that wasn't the best. Now let's move forward from that. And then you got a few. How long did it take before you settled to get a job that you were quite pleased with?
Let's put it this way. After I wrote that job, cried, I stayed for another 1 month. And now one of the things is, once you come to this society, there are some things you pick up very quickly. There's something difference. All right. Now, so when I went looking for another role, and they ask, oh, have you worked somewhere before? Yeah, I say, oh, I work for this company.
Yes.
Now, guess what? They would call.
They ring them.
They would call. And they say, those guys, they say, okay, the guy is a good worker, but he has issues.
Yes.
Yeah, he has bad attitude and all that. So anyway, finally, one of my friend, he used to be here. He was called Odweso, but then he went back in Kenya. He used to work to sort of work through his, and so he took up my case and went to talk to a lady in his, and explained my position. So that lady did her background, and once more she got the same thing. And then Odweso did not let it go. So we really discussed with her and say, okay, this guy, he was traveling. From what he's told me, he was really badly mistreated. Now, so at this time, that was 2003. That's when we had the bird flu, the SARS.
Yeah.
Now, so what happened is one of the lady had gone to Thailand, or an accountant had gone to Thailand. And so there's this company where I got my second role. Now, in that company, they needed someone urgently for only 2 weeks. So this lady in Hayes said, okay, yeah, we have someone who can do that for 2 weeks. This is not a person I would say, yeah, you keep. Actually, that's what she told me. But then, because it's only for 2 weeks, yeah, just work with him. But yeah, I understand he can do the work. So that's the way I found my second role. I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. And the beauty is that now, because I was already overqualified for the role I was doing, now here I'm just working as an account receivable. The second role, actually, I worked as an account receivable. So at the end of the day, there's something, for those who know accounting, there's something we are supposed to close the books anyway for the accounts receivable. So my manager told me, okay, now at the end of the day, this is what you're supposed to be doing. So I told him, oh, why should I do that? He told me, Peter, well, I'm telling you what you're supposed to be doing, not to ask questions. I said, that's the first day, Matthew. That's the first day.
Very first day.
Yeah, because for me, whatever he told me to do, I said, no, there's a problem here. We are not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And then he told me, no, Peter, you're not supposed to think. You're supposed to do what I say. I told him, okay, I'll do that. But if I do that, this is what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of an argument there. And that's day one, Matthew. So this guy, now my manager told me, okay, are you sure of what you're saying? I said, yes. So he told me, can you write an email? Just write an email to me. Tell me why you are saying we should not do that. And that's what I did just before I closed the, just before 5, wrote an email, and then for me, did what he wanted me to do, and off I went. Okay. So come the next day. Whatever we did, once we are doing the checks, I put the report. I went to him and I asked him, he was called Eric. Eric, what did I tell you? I told you this and this is going to happen. And I look at the report. That's exactly what has happened. So he looked at me.
That gave you some credibility then.
Yeah, he looked at me. That's day 2. He looked at me and asked me, okay, this has been happening for a while, but nobody has ever been able to figure out what's happening here. So you are telling me, what should we do? So I told him, and then he told me, no, Peter, now before you start, sit down there. I've given you 2 hours. Give me a report of what we should be doing. And that's what I did. Actually, within say 30 minutes, I gave him the report. And once he went through that, actually, he took that report and went to the financial controller. So I credit Eric with my first role. Because after that, now I stayed there before the 2 weeks, because that lady, the accountant who had come from Thailand, had been quarantined, and she was not supposed to leave the house for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So before the 2 weeks were over, so Eric may ask me, "Oh, do you want this role?"
Yeah.
And right, that's the way I got here. I became an accountant in that company.
Wow, that's a brilliant story. You kind of dominated with your experience and something that nobody has picked up before. Now, do you feel like things like that, and maybe you may have had similar experience after that, but that's the sort of thing that actually provides people of color like us within the Australian context with a bit more credibility until they see something that they haven't seen before, or until they see you working and they realize that you are quite competent. They always tend to take us at some sort of low level value. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, I would say, and maybe there's something I've skipped, because now my trainer on first day, you'd say there's a lot of stereotype and the expectation, and I'm saying, well, given that time, you'd expect most of the people, whenever you go, like if they talk about, let's say, someone like Kenya, maybe the only thing they hear mostly is about the slum, the biggest slum in Africa. Now, if you tell them there's a city that's, well, I think there's also the level of ignorance. And talking about my first day, there was this lady who was supposed to train me. One thing, she came and told me, okay, Peter, have you ever used a computer? And I tell you what, this lady did not have any malice. Trust me.
Yes.
She was
yes.
nice lady. But then that's the expectation. That's just the way you put it there.
That's
Maybe
right.
They don't expect you to have ever used a computer. And so I told her, yeah. And after after 2 days, 3 days, I'm the one who is showing her around the computer. So
you're becoming the teacher now.
Yeah, I became the teacher. But one thing I was very happy at, and once I changed my attitude, was about I was very happy to start from a low level, because I was overqualified. So here you are being told just do this. But also that because you are a technical fella, that give you the opportunity to over deliver, and you shine. And that's the way I ended up actually staying in that company for 3.5 years, and I had to resign to go and get, for another better role.
I see. Now, share with us how you have managed through the years to navigate the politics of the workplace, the cultural capital, because I guess that's another element when you come into a new culture and a new society. Besides the competence, the technical competence related to any job, you got to understand not only the broader culture in the society, but the workplace culture and the politics of it, so that eventually you can decide gradually to position yourself in the best possible way for an eventual promotion. How have you over the years sort of navigated through that?
I think that the biggest thing, Clyde, for me, of course, there's the element of performance and politics in the corporate world. That's a very, I would say it's a live wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite common. And the thing is,
Yes.
okay, there's a language barrier. Okay, we have the cultural, the cultural. What did I say? Yeah, the cultural barriers also you have to jump.
Yeah.
But for me, I found, okay, the best way for me to navigate this is first of all to make myself good at whatever I'm doing. So very well, what I did, I cultivated myself as what you call as an expert in my area. So a technical expert in my area. Now, what that one does, it insulates you from the issues of whereby, most of the time, whichever, especially if you are professional, if you are dealing with technical things. Now, the worst thing which can never happen is about your credibility. No, well, what did I say? Your technical skills.
Yes.
If they are put into question, now, that's where the corporate politics will always start. But if you are so good at whatever you are doing or whatever you do, if you're on top of your game, and even if you go now into that meeting, you might not be able, once they start talking about the footy, or because there are some things that you never get, and unless you are born up here.
Yeah.
There's all those, like once they are having some banters here and there, you are not going to understand that. And after some time, the only thing, if you hear something and you don't understand and you find everyone laughing,
Yes.
of course, it becomes a bit hard to ask, oh, what did you say? Because now the
Yes.
joke is no longer a joke, it's already over.
That's
But
right.
make a point probably to ask question and tell people, okay, can you teach me about that? And you find most of the things actually they do, what they are relating or whatever they are talking is something maybe you also in Africa have gone under the same thing, but you have a way of of saying that. So
That's right.
make sure you ask a lot of questions. All right, get someone who is friendly, someone who can cover you, but also start teaching them actually about your culture and a bit of your language. So sort of you have to develop that friendship, but it's not easy. It's, as we say, Rome was not built overnight. It takes a lot of time, but you have to be ready for that.
Good. Before we go further, let me just remind those who are watching, we do appreciate you taking the time to watch this show. Please make a comment or two about whatever ideas that are coming to you as you watch. Perhaps, as usual, we ask you to say where you are watching us from, and if you have questions, we'll be more than happy to allow you to ask those questions. You can do that through comment, and if you want, you can even come on live on studio for your mobile or laptop on video, and you can ask those questions. It's all about sharing the experience and the skills as we navigate through the workplace in Australia. Now, going back to the cultural thing, by the way, did you get as soon as you arrived in Australia and you start working? Did you get some of these jokes about football, or even just whether you like football or not? And people like myself saying, "No, I don't like football. It's too violent," or anything like that. And people, when you tell people like that, they kind of, it's like you're sending them off, and that connection is not there. Did you have the same experience?
Oh yes, I think that as you know, football is a religion here. Sports
Yeah.
religion, especially in Victoria.
Yeah.
Of course, sometimes anyway, for me, I don't like pretending. If I don't know something, I don't know. But
Yes.
then you say, yeah, well, I'm new, because it's always, you just take that, okay, I'm new in this country. For us, whatever they say, football. The worst thing which used to happen is someone is talking about football, and coming from Africa, the moment you talk about football, I understand
It's soccer.
soccer.
Yes, exactly.
It's soccer. So it's that, but then they call it footy. So it's
Yeah.
for us, we are more into soccer. And
Yes.
now you might find some who actually follow the Premier League.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Now something like that. If you get something like that, you start talking now. You have a common ground.
That's
but then
right.
along the way, now they also start teaching you the footy, and you find over time, most of my friends now they tell me I support this team, and because you haven't chosen the team, probably you should choose. So they start influencing you now.
You just pick one.
Team. Yeah, they'll tell me about the footy. So the issue is you just find, if you remove the focus from yourself now, and now let someone else do the talking. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about that.
That's right.
They'll talk until finally they'll start now asking you about, what about you? Tell us more about Africa. Where did you study? All of a sudden now, you realize now you've become buddies.
Yes.
And the issue of seeing you now, to me, I found within a very short time, the issue of seeing me as an African or whatever it is, it disappears quite quickly. Right? And the only time I would find maybe once difficulties, especially, is once you go for those outings, in the evenings, maybe you go for drinks and that kind of stuff, and you'd find now they start jokes or whatever they are talking about, you get lost, of course, most of the time, because you don't understand you don't understand the context. They might be talking about whatever they went through once they're there, but beyond that, once you find now, because they understand, or your colleagues, because they are good people. There's quite a number of people who are good. I would say all my colleagues have really been nice. They understand. You really don't understand some of these things. So along the way, they'll teach you. They'll tell you,
That's
this
right.
is what we mean. They explain to you what's happening.
Now, have you ever been subject of racism, either overt or covert, in your experience?
You always have that, and that one, as I've said, with my first role, I did experience that discrimination, and it sort of brought that feeling that, hey, you are here, you should be the one who is doing, like someone you are just seated there chatting with people, and you're having a good time, then thinking that you can just go and get something. You want some work to be done, like photocopying. Hey, you pass the photocopier, come to me to give me, to tell me to go and take the copy. So that was very annoying. I think that's what that's something that I experienced there. But beyond that, you always find, not in the office. Times you just find, like, once you go for evening drinks, someone might have taken a few drinks, and they might say something nasty. The only thing is, now, for me, I'll get that, keep quiet, I won't answer you. But tomorrow, once we go to the office, I'll face you. I'll ask you, do you remember what you told me? So I've experienced that, but not to I wouldn't say anything serious.
Okay, that's right. And what would you advise other Africans with regards to how to best handle racism at work? Because whether it's racism or any other thing that you're not happy with, the way you react is very important. It could either allow you to make friends and potentially move forward, or stop everything. So what would you advise younger African professionals or people coming to Australia who are new and who are not quite yet savvy in terms of the politics, the culture, and everything else at workplace?
Okay, I would say for me, probably, it doesn't. I don't think there's any one way approach that fits every situation. But I think the best thing is, first of all, for me personally, is sort of, first of all, pull back. Stay calm.
Yes.
Okay. Don't try to be aggressive, because now the way I find sometimes is that I've always found that, like, a situation now, for us Africans, we are always being depicted as aggressive, unreasonable.
Yes.
So if someone expects you to be violent in a way, whether it's verbal or you overreact, and then you go ahead and do exactly that. So pretty much you are
Confirming.
you're sort of validating the
Yes,
stereotype.
that's
So
right.
why just pull back, stay calm, and can say, okay, sorry, I didn't understand you. Did you exactly mean this?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes for me, my policy is very easy. I'm non-confrontational,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but I don't let it go. Sometimes you
Mm.
might look at a situation and you say, okay, if I go this one now, it might not end up very well.
Yeah.
But as I've
Let me
said,
let it go.
as I've said now, it's either I'll raise that issue with the management. Okay, if let's say if it's a colleague, then you'd have to raise that one with the management. Or if you are comfortable, then you need to go and talk to that person directly. All right. But then I'm talking about in terms of workplace. Now there are other areas. Now, if you are pretty much like if you go and find someone out there, so you have to assess the situation as it is. But what I would say, I'll be very much against trying to be confrontational at any one point.
Absolutely, it's best not to be confrontational. Take your time to first think and then decide what's the best course of action to address that. And I also agree with you when you say you don't want to let it go, because you got to find an opportunity to educate the person that what they've done is wrong if you think is wrong, but just find the best way to do that, and a less confrontational way. Now, and do you also think that many African Australian professionals understand what it takes to position themselves in the best possible way for a promotion in the workplace? Because I think stories we hear from the community, people don't always lack the technical skills. They do, but they don't get promoted for many reasons. Some claim it's racism, some others it's my manager doesn't like me and all that sort of thing. But when you dig deeper, you kind of see that also, whilst some of these issues may be correct, but people don't position themselves in the best possible way for the promotion to come, because as usual, for us people of color, we're within a white context. You have to prove yourself and do even more work, show more than what the average person has to do, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. And yeah, I would say now, Clyde, I have a lot of friends, and I know quite a number of professionals who are in senior management levels. And most of these guys have been there, for years. We have a big community. We have a very good representation of people who are in senior positions. And to me, there's always one thing I always say. Now, Australia is a multicultural society, or so we are told every now and then. All right. Of course, you always have some nasty people here and there who will always try to remind you, or they'll do anything to remind you that, hey, hang on, you are a person of color, I'm senior than you, and that kind of thing. But then, having said that, to me, I always see as being a minority, and that's what I always tell my family and my friends. I've always seen that one as a very big advantage. Okay, and why? I would say it's for this reason. Most of the companies are trying to be seen as multicultural. Right? They would want, most of the company want to sort of promote diversity. Now, this is why we come in as people of color. We are few. So if you are a professional, okay, and you are good at whatever you do, now once you go into an interview, and that has always been my policy, and I believe in that because that has happened to me. Once you go into an interview, even before you talk, okay, if there are 10 people who are doing that interview, and you are the only African or the only person of color, you know what? Everyone will
take that as an advantage.
It's an advantage. Everyone will remember you. All the others. If you are the interviewer, you are not going to remember everyone else. It's sort of like being in Africa, then a white man, for an interview. Everyone will remember that you are different. Now,
that's
the
right.
thing is, if you are able to take control of that interview, okay, perform well, you know what? Definitely you get that role. And to me, that's what I always say, that I don't want to say, yeah, because you're African or whatever, you are not gonna. For me, I've always found that whenever I go for a role, go for an interview, I hit it and then I get the role. To such an extent, actually, you come to a level whereby you say, okay, now I don't wanna. There's a management level, so you are being pushed to take maybe a managerial role. But then because of the politics which are there, I find, for me personally, I'm not good in politics. I'm a technical person. So I like being. So sometimes I find out now the issue of politics is too much. So I say, no,
Yes.
yeah, let me operate at where I am. But I don't want to think at any one time for the companies that this which I've worked for, that a position has ever been passed simply because I'm sort of a person of color. I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say that.
Good. Let me just mention a few comments we're getting from those watching us. Sarah King says, thank you, AMA, watching live from Lismore. This is very insightful and interesting to hear other people's experience in the workplace in our adopted country. Learning quite a bit. Very valuable. Thank you. And then IUN Ball has actually a question. It said, do we feel in moving forward as an African people in the diaspora is continual works in these white institutions? What would be that? You know, this it seems like
okay. Sorry, can you repeat that question again?
Well, she's asking whether moving forward within the white Australian context is actually sort of continual work. You basically have to do through 3 times the same the amount of work that an average white Australian person would do to prove yourself. So it's like we have to work very, very hard to get anything or to be recognized. That's how I understand their question anyway. I'm assuming I'm not misrepresenting.
Yeah, okay. I think in every position, you'd have to prove yourself. All right. And as I said, there might be those situations of stereotype, whereby and you'd have actually to work probably extra hard, really, to show that you can perform. But to me, also, having said that, I think the biggest thing we also have to work on is our mindset. You don't want to go into that position. You don't want to go into a work when your mind is telling you, hey, guess what, Peter? You have to work extremely extra hard, okay, for you to prove yourself. Now that puts pressure on you. Okay, you become your own enemy. So yes, you need to be on top of your game, no question about that. All right. But then I wouldn't say that. Yeah, well, in some situation, let me talk, because probably have had a good experience, and I know there are quite a number of people who have gone through rough patches, as my friends say. But yeah, no question about that. You'd have to. There are some people who would say, okay, you find sometimes you cannot be able to get a position unless you become extremely good at it. And if that's what's required, guess what, guys? We don't have an option. We have to do it. We are the professionals. If we don't do that, because if we are not able to prove ourselves, now what's going to happen is, now it will be our kids now to come and try and prove, So we have to try and break the barriers. And once if we are able to do that, then we also set, sort of like a roadmap for our kids on the success. Yeah.
Good. And also there appears to be the sentiment that actually when you look at what's happening with many African Australians, when they get a job and it's a good job, and then people just kind of settle there. They don't want to they don't want to move forward. They don't want to take the next step, and people settle for things that normally they could, they could afford to go to the next level if they prepare themselves. Where is that sort of mentality coming from? It's just being too comfortable and not wanting to change, or do you think there are other elements that go into that?
I think all of us human, in a way, we have this urge to settle. All right. Now it's called the comfort zone. Now things are working okay. Why should I rock the boat? So yeah, you have this nice job. It's okay. There's no problem with that. If that's you, fair enough. Okay, if you're happy, fair enough. But then if you are the kind of person who always want to move or you want something new, guess what? At times you find, and for me, that's what has happened. I don't know how many companies I've worked for, to be sincere, Clyde. It reached to a point, as I said, I didn't want to go to management, and it reached a point now whereby I said, now, you know what? I don't want a permanent role anymore. I want to just be contracting, your mindset. But the thing is, you have to know exactly what you want, right? But sometimes, at least for me, I've found what has worked most for me is moving from one company to another. And based on that, you just find, or you're also building your circle of friends, by moving from one company to another. And then you just find, you might be lucky, go to one company, the skills that you learn from that other company, you go to the other one, and you'll be able to apply those skills somewhere else. So I would say the issue is just the mindset. So do you wanna really move up, or do you wanna just be comfortable and say, hang on, things are very difficult. Getting another job or moving to senior management level is very difficult. So I don't want to do it. I just want to be comfortable where I am. So it's all basically what you want. But
sure. And then
the sky is the limit.
Absolutely. And then
we have the skills. So why not?
We have the skills. Why not? And for someone like you took the step from being employed to saying, hey, you know what? I can start my own business. That is a step that not many in our communities tend to take. Why do you think that is the case? And share with us your experience in taking that step. Because it is quite a huge step sometimes, and it's like moving from the comfort of the known into the uneasiness of the unknown, and you may fall, and you may be tricky. Share with us your own experience in that area.
Clyde, I think from the onset, and maybe I need to go back and say, why did I come to this country? In Kenya, I had worked for about 10 years. All right. And then of course, it's a small economy. And I started getting bored with whatever I was doing. And then the economy was such a bad one. We are getting retrenchment left, right, center. So one of the things I decided, okay, probably I want to go somewhere. Because by that time I had a lot of friends who had lost their roles, and you find that in Kenya at that time, if you lost your role, it became almost impossible to get another one. So for me, though I was senior, I decided, okay, what do I want to do? I'm happy here I am. I'm a senior man. But then what would happen, because I had seen quite a number of my friends lose their jobs. So that's why I decided to come up here. But then at the same time, on top of that, is that it had reached a point whereby I felt I needed to be an employer. I needed to be self-employed, to be a master of my own destiny. Not always being told, do this, do that. And that's why I came here, because one of the things I'll tell you, what I said, okay, even if I don't get a job, probably I can start doing manual job and whatever it is. I can become a driver. I can, I had researched all this when I was back in Kenya. So I've always had that urge. But then once I hit here, I realized, oh, hang on. You need, first of all, you need to have food on the table. You need the finance. And also the timing. So it's only after now, when I stabilized, I had gained the experience here. Now, along the way, there's something I believe in. I believe in always continuous learning. You have to, otherwise, the moment you stop running, then what would I say? You start a slow death.
That's right.
Say technically, in career-wise. So for me, there's one area which I found, okay, there is always shortage. Like I was going now, if I told someone I'm an accountant, the first thing, like I would go and tell my friends, or like once my kids were growing up, we are going for soccer games and whatever. So I'll tell them, and Peter, what do you do? I'm an accountant. So the first thing they would ask me, do you do tax returns? I haven't, I realize everyone here needs like an accountant. It's a big field. It's a real big field. Then the other field is for finance. That's a growing industry. It's a growing industry. And that's why I said, okay, now I think for me, I've done all these years in accounting. I'm a bit tired of the corporate world. And I'm a bit tired, not a bit, really tired of politics. I've not been immune to politics. All right. So I said, okay, why can't I start something for myself. And how do I start that? The only way I could be able to start that is now stop being permanently employed. Okay, I had to take that measure and create some consciousness of being unstable. So I know now this role, I'm going there for 3 months. Tomorrow I won't have a job. So what do? I have to build my business. And that's the way I started, and that's the way I've been going. Of course, as you know, Clyde, building business is not easy. It takes a lot of
Not
time.
easy.
But then the only thing is, once you start something, okay, and if it's very clear in your mind, what do you want to do? I believe in, start with the end in mind. You've seen others have succeeded. You can see there is a demand for that. So the worst thing you can do is give up. So you have to hang on. You have to hang on there
pushing.
And continue doing it. And I'm still there and enjoying it.
That's good. Well, business is it's an exciting journey full of hurdles, but if you keep pushing, and you will eventually be able to make it. Now, as we approach the end of the show, I'm just going to ask you maybe a couple of advices or more to younger professionals or people from African background coming to Australia more recently and still moving their way through the corporate ladder. We'll start from getting a job. Your advice on what's the best way to apply for and get a job. Some of the tips that you use yourself that helped you to get a job, and then we'll go to the next thing. Just quickly.
Okay, just a quick one now. Now, you have to know exactly what role you are applying for. It's not uncommon, to find someone really, because I've done quite a number of interviews, so I've interviewed quite a number of people, and a role has been advertised, and then someone applies for it. So you come and tell them, for me, there's always one thing. Someone might come and ask me, okay, can you tell me about this role? And you know what I used to say? No, you are the one who is applying. I had already put that probably some information there. Now tell me your understanding. Once you read that, okay, what is expected of this role as per that? Okay, there you are starting sort of to see whether this person understands exactly what's required. So if you are going for an interview, you have to understand, you have to really have a very thorough knowledge of what's required. And hopefully you have experience for that. You have to have a lot of questions. And sometimes, like for me, what I used to do is that once I understand what's required of the role, I would sort of go and try to take over. I try to take over the interview. Now, instead of the interviewee shooting questions to you because you understand what's required,
you're interviewing them.
What's required, now you start telling, okay, now what system do you use? Do you do this and that? Do you do that? What issues are you experiencing? Yes. Oh, now they tell you, this. Now, you see, you sort of taken over.
Yeah.
You become the one who is driving the interview. Now, of course, until it comes to what you call the personality. So those ones, of course, you have to go. But
that's right. You have to tone it down a bit.
Yes, technical side, you have to be prepared for that and take it seriously.
Absolutely. And then once you get a job, what would be your advice to how to best manage yourself in the workplace environment to give yourself the best chance of not only showing excellence in that area, but eventually putting yourself in a best foot to get a promotion?
Okay. The first thing, once you go for any new role, it doesn't matter how experienced, even someone like me, it doesn't matter how experienced I am. You find the initial month, the first 3 months, you always have teething problems. All right. Now, how do you resolve this? These are issues that you are not gonna, they would go away. So now, once you get a new role, for me, what I would say is you need to put a lot of time, and I mean a lot of time, to understand exactly what's happening there, the systems, the solution. So if you have an issue, okay, don't get tired. Make sure that within the first 2 weeks, you understand, let's say, about, even if it's something like 30%, within 1 month, you should understand about 80% of your work. Continue putting more, because what you find is the more time you put initially to understand what's required and probably to streamline some of those things, will go a long, long way, really, to enhance your performance in the months, years to come. And having done that, so once you master your role, once you master what you are doing, now you find the company doesn't have much of an option. They would have to look for something, they have to look for something for you to do, because you just find if you are able to resolve, you are able to master an area, resolve issues, you find every manager, you become sort of what you'd say a blue-eyed kid of the manager, someone they come to resolve the issues. So make yourself a master of your area. And that one, there's no other way. You have to put a lot of time to understand the way things work.
Okay, make yourself a master of your area. And that, I suppose, is a very nice...
We say subject matter expert,
Yeah,
you become
an expert, obviously, definitely. You need to show that you not only understand what the role is all about, but you can do it, and you can deliver the goods, and you are somebody that they can trust and they count on you, and you can provide outcomes on a consistent basis. All right, Peter, thank you very much. We're coming to the end of this show. We appreciate your time to this platform where we talk about career and story. I'm sure there's a lot more that we could get from you, but we are limited in time. We will probably organize additional opportunities in the future to talk more, and we're going to have panels, and we're going to have discussions that will be centered on specific issues that many African Australians tend to encounter in their career. So I'll certainly want to see you sometime very soon back to this platform to talk more about this career matters. I want to say thank you again.
Okay, thanks a lot, Clyde, and thanks for having me.
No worries. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good night.
Okay, sir. Bye.
Cheers.